Howdy everyone. Today we will look at the 7 possessive pronouns and how they function in a sentence. Also, we will look at several examples so that we can improve our writing and speaking skills. The 7 possessive pronouns are mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, and theirs. We will look at these 7 possessive pronouns individually in a moment. But before we do, we need to know how they function in a sentence. Possessive pronouns show ownership. They indicate ownership, and they take the place of nouns or noun phrases in order to avoid repetition. For example, that book is my book. Notice we replace the word book at the end of the sentence. If we use the possessive pronoun mine, we could say that book is mine. Now that sounds much better. Notice mine replaces the noun phrase my book. Let's look at another example. That book on the table is your book. If we use the possessive pronoun yours, we could say that book on the table is yours. Now we avoid the repetition of the word book again. In another example, we could say that book over there is his book. However, it would be better to say that book over there is his. Again, we avoid the repetition of the word book. In another example, we could say that book on the desk is her book. But it would be better to say that book on the desk is hers. We are simply replacing her book with the possessive pronoun hers, thus avoiding repetition. Let's look at another example. We could say those books are our books, but it would be more appropriate to say those books are ours. Let's look at another example. We could say those books on the library table are their books. Now we can avoid repetition by saying those books on the library table are theirs. I think you get the idea now. Possessive pronouns show ownership, and they take the place of nouns and noun phrases in order to avoid repetition. However, we have one more possessive pronoun to discuss, and that possessive pronoun is its. Please note, possessive pronouns do not use an apostrophe. Don't confuse its without an apostrophe with its with an apostrophe. Its with an apostrophe is a contraction of it is. Let me say that again. Its with an apostrophe is a contraction of it is. So when you see its with an apostrophe, it is a contraction of it is. And when you see its without an apostrophe, it is generally used as a possessive pronoun. Its as a possessive pronoun is rarely, if ever, used, but sometimes it can be used in parallel constructions. But let me qualify this with the statement that not everyone agrees with this suggestion. There are different opinions relating to the function of its as a possessive pronoun. But for now, let's look at some examples used in parallel constructions. We have 2 examples here. Let's look at example 1. Knowledge has its lessons and experience has its. Notice the first time I use its in this sentence, it is used as a possessive adjective. But when I use it the second time, I use it as a possessive pronoun because it stands alone and it takes the place of the noun phrase, its lessons. Let's look at the second example. History has its applications and fiction has its. Notice the first time I use its in this sentence, it is used as a possessive adjective. But when I use it the second time, I use it as a possessive pronoun because it stands alone and it takes the place of the noun phrase, its applications. Please note, the possessive pronoun its is a tricky one, so use it sparingly. Remember, possessive pronouns show ownership and they take the place of a noun or noun phrase in order to avoid repetition. Thanks for listening. Hopefully this lesson will help you develop your writing and speaking skills.